All right, let's dive into William Golding's Lord of the Flies, and we're starting right at the beginning with Chapter 1, The Sound of the Shell. Now, this chapter is so much more than just an introduction. It's really the first big test for these boys. They're thrown onto a deserted island, and right away, Golding starts hitting us with the big questions that are going to shape this entire unforgettable story.
So let's start with a big one. What if all the rules just vanished? Seriously, think about it. No parents, no teachers, no one telling you what to do. It's just you and a bunch of other kids on an island. This is the exact question Golding drops on us right from the get-go. What would you do? How would you actually act? The whole book is kind of like a giant dark experiment, and it all kicks off right here.
So, picture this. The story opens in what seems like a total paradise. You've got palm trees, this beautiful blue water. But there's a catch, a big one. There's a giant scar running through the jungle, the wreckage of a plane crash. And it's in this beautiful but kind of eerie place that we meet our very first two characters.
First up, Golding doesn't even give us a name. He just calls him the boy with fair hair. He's climbing out of that wreckage, right out of the chaos. You can almost feel how hot and sticky and confusing it all is. He thinks he's all alone, but, well, not for long.
And boom, the second boy shows up, and the difference between them is just night and day. First, you've got Ralph, the fair-haired boy. He's built like an athlete, seems pretty chill, and Golding says he has no devil in him. He's like the natural-born leader type. And then you've got Piggy. He's shorter, overweight, can't see a thing without his glasses, and he's got bad asthma. But you can tell right away this kid is smart. Golding sets them up as total opposites, and that push and pull between them, it's going to fuel everything.
So while Ralph is kind of just taking in the island vibes, hey, a beach, it's Piggy who's putting the pieces together. He's the one who's like, okay, wait a minute, the pilot, he's gone. There are no grown-ups here at all. He even mentions an atom bomb, so we know this is happening during a war. Right from the jump, Piggy is the voice of logic and reality here. And then you get this really vulnerable moment. Piggy, probably trying to make a friend, shares the one thing he hates most about himself, the nickname that kids used to bully him with back home. He trusts Ralph with it. He's basically saying, hey, please don't call me that. Let's start fresh. And Ralph's reaction? He laughs. He doesn't just chuckle, he shrieks with laughter. He takes that vulnerability and immediately turns it into a joke. It might not be pure evil, but it's a casual, thoughtless cruelty that tells you everything you need to know about the power dynamic right then and there. Ralph has the power, and Piggy's fate, his new identity, is sealed in that one laugh.
Okay, so after that pretty rough start, something amazing happens. Out of all this chaos and awkwardness, a symbol, a really powerful symbol of order, is about to make its appearance. And it all starts with something they find in the water.
And here it is, the conch shell. This is the perfect example of how Ralph and Piggy work together, or should work together. Ralph just sees this cool-looking pink shell, but Piggy sees a tool. He's the one who figures out, hey, we can use this like a trumpet. We can call the others. He's got the brains, but because of his asthma, he doesn't have the lung power. So Piggy tells him exactly what to do, and Ralph gives it a try. And this is a huge moment, right? Can he actually do it? Can he turn this pretty shell into a symbol of power, a call to action? The entire island is quiet, just for a second, waiting.
And then he does it. This deep, loud blast just booms across the island. It's not a natural sound, it's a human sound, and it completely cuts through the noise of the waves in the jungle. It's the first real act of civilization. It's a signal that says, we are here, and it's calling their new little society into existence.
And guess what? It totally works. First, it's one or two, and then more and more boys start stumbling out of the trees, all drawn to that incredible sound. What was just a random bunch of crash survivors is, for the first time, starting to look like a real group. And they just keep coming. You've got the tiny kids, the ones Golding calls the little uns. Some are only 6 years old. Then you've got older kids like the twins, Sam and Eric. All these different boys from all different places, but they all have one terrifying thing in common. They are completely on their own.
But then, something else appears. At first, it looks like some kind of weird creature moving through the heat haze, but it's not. It's a whole group of boys marching in 2 straight lines, wearing these thick, black choir robes in the middle of a tropical jungle. And leading them is a boy named Jack Maridu. See, they aren't just a random group. They're the choir, and they already have their own rules and their own leader.
Okay, so everyone's here. They're all looking at each other, and the first big question comes up pretty fast.
Who's in charge? They need a chief. This is it. Their very first decision as a new little civilization.
They decide to have a vote, but think about it. What makes a good leader when there are no adults around? Do you vote for the strongest guy, the smartest, the one who looks the part? This one choice they're about to make is going to decide everything.
So it really boils down to two guys, Ralph versus Jack. Jack is aggressive. He basically says, I ought to be chief, because he can sing a C-sharp and is already the leader of the choir. He's all about authority. But then there's Ralph. He's got this quiet confidence, he looks like a leader, and this is the big one, he's holding the conch. He's holding the very thing that brought them all together.
And the votes are in. Ralph wins. It's not even close. They pick the calm guy with the conch over the bossy choir leader. But Ralph does something pretty smart, or at least he thinks it is. To keep Jack from getting too angry, he says, "Okay, Jack, you and your choir, you guys can be the hunters." He gives his rival a job, a very important one. And oh man, that decision is going to have huge consequences.
All right, so Ralph's the chief. First order of business, figure out where the heck they are. They've got to know for sure. Is this actually an island, or is there help just over the next hill? So, Ralph picks his team for this first expedition. He picks Jack, smart move to include his rival, and another quiet kid named Simon. But notice who he doesn't pick, Piggy. Piggy is desperate to go to be included, but Ralph just shuts him down. So right away, the brains of the group are being separated from the leaders. Meanwhile, the other three are climbing this mountain, getting along great, and even having this wild moment where they push a massive boulder off a cliff just for the fun of it. They're bonding.
And when they get to the very top of the mountain, they see it. Their question is answered. It's an island, for sure. All around them, as far as they can see, is just ocean. No boats, no houses, nothing. The truth just hits them like a ton of bricks. They are totally, completely alone.
But instead of being terrified, Ralph looks at everything and says, "This belongs to us." And right then, it doesn't sound scary, it sounds exciting, like they're the kings of their own private kingdom. It's all an adventure. The real crushing weight of what it means to be alone hasn't hit them yet. Not really.
So that's where Chapter 1 leaves us. We've got a fragile little society. They've got a democratically elected leader, Ralph, and a symbol of order, the conch. But they also have Jack, a rival, in charge of a group of hunters, and Piggy, the voice of reason, has already been pushed to the side. So the real question isn't just if this little society is going to survive. The real question is, what's going to tear it apart first?